And it from three. Hole comes soaring in again. This uncanny knack. And cashes in.
Is on the upper left wing. Just got inside, circles around, pure F.
Game 3 wasn't basketball. It was chaos dressed up as competition. The Indiana Fever had control, they had the crowd, they had the fight. And then the whistles came, tearing the game right out of their hands. Fans inside Gainbridge felt it instantly, and social media confirmed it within minutes. The Aces didn't outplay Indiana. They were handed that win. But buried underneath the controversy was a performance from Lexie Hull that could have changed the series forever, if only the officials had allowed it.
A'ja Wilson sets a screen where she extends her leg out, but of course they call the foul on Lexie Hull for A'ja Wilson's illegal screen. Then A'ja Wilson and Alyssa Smith totally foul Michaela Timpson, but there is no call. Could have took a 1-point lead going into half. Now we're up by 3 and they call a foul that isn't a foul. So we don't get calls when we're getting hit, but the Aces get a call when nobody touches anybody.
Indiana opened the night with energy, clawing for every point. But the second they started pulling away, the whistles started. Calls that didn't exist suddenly appeared. Illegal screens by Vegas were ignored, while Fever players were punished for breathing too close. The result? A wave of free throws that sliced away Indiana's lead. What felt like their moment was gone before it even began. And yet, that was just the opening act. Everyone saw the imbalance. A'ja Wilson stuck her leg out on a screen. Whistle blows. But somehow it's against Lexie Hull. Alyssa Smith and Wilson hammer Michaela Timpson at the rim. Nothing. Seconds later, Indiana's defense barely touches a jersey and gets flagged. The calls weren't just missed. They were reversed. The kind of bias you can't ignore when the scoreboard keeps shifting because of it. And what started as frustration quickly grew into a pattern too obvious to dismiss.
Boston has the mismatch on Lloyd. Help comes. Kick out. Hull will fire. And hit from 3. Last 2 positions inside from Indiana. Smith tied up by Hull. And a jump ball between Smith.
Game 1 already gave hints. Vegas crawled back not by outplaying Indiana, but by living at the foul line. Every Fever stop seemed to end with free throws for the champs. By Game 2, the whistles were louder, interrupting any rhythm Indiana tried to build. And by Game 3, it didn't feel like an accident anymore. It felt like a script, and even the coach couldn't keep quiet about it.
Steph, why don't you think you were able to find any flow, and when that was the case, what are you trying to do to jumpstart things, maybe on the defense?
Well, it's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul call every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. And when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor. And that's a challenge. They were much more aggressive and physical defensively. We didn't counter that with our off-ball actions or with our back cuts. So they took us out of our comfort zone. I mean, offense is about rhythm, it's about timing, it's about spacing. We allowed them to do that, and they kept us from doing it.
After Game 2, Stephanie White didn't mince words. "It's hard to find rhythm when there's a foul call every 10 seconds, she said. "Offense is built on flow, spacing, timing. All things impossible when the whistle never stops." When the head coach of a playoff team is pointing fingers at officiating instead of her own players, you know the imbalance has reached a breaking point. And Game 3 would prove her right in the most brutal way possible.
A'ja Wilson is 1 for 12 as a foul is called on Boston, and that will be number 2 on Aaliyah Boston.
You saw Indiana picking up full court pressure defensively, and if you're Aaliyah Boston, that's the one spot on the floor you do not want to get a foul called.
And Stephanie White is trying to challenge it and did not call the timeout in time. Gray in the corner.
Third quarter. Indiana leading, Boston battling in the paint. Jackie Young barrels in, whistle blows. Boston signals for a challenge, the bench ready to back her up. But the refs refuse. Seconds later, Chelsea Gray nails a 3. In an instant, Indiana's hard-earned lead evaporates. The arena went from a roar to stunned silence. It wasn't just points lost. It was belief being stolen. And what happened next went viral within minutes. Clips flooded social feeds almost immediately. Fans slowed down footage, circling elbows, pushes, flops. Videos broke down how ignored challenges flipped the game. Side-by-side comparisons showed Fever contact whistled while Aces collisions were ignored. The conclusion was impossible to miss. Vegas wasn't winning through dominance. They were winning through whistles. And what made it sting even more was how quickly neutral fans joined in. People who rarely watch the WNBA were suddenly sharing these clips, asking how a playoff game could look this one-sided. Instead of highlighting Indiana's grit or Lexie Hull's heroics, the story became the officiating. And that's what turned frustration into full-blown outrage. Quick question for you. Do you think Indiana was robbed in Game 3? If yes, comment stolen down below. But the ugliest part was still to come. Play after play, it felt one-sided. AJ Wilson lowering her shoulder into Boston? Play on. Indiana reaching for a loose ball? Instant foul. Arms flailing in a Vegas jersey counted as defense, while Indiana's physicality was treated like a crime scene. It didn't feel like a contest. It felt like the refs were weapons, tilting the game one call at a time. And yet, through all of it, one player refused to give in. Lexie Hull wasn't even supposed to be out there. Injured in Game 1, questionable for Game 3, her warm-ups looked stiff, her body clearly in pain. Most expected her to log a few sympathy minutes. Instead, she turned into the story of the night. 16 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks. A playoff career high. On a night she could barely stand straight. But numbers only tell part of her story. Hull's face told the rest. Wincing after collisions, clutching her back between plays, yet still diving on the floor for loose balls. She boxed out taller players, stole rebounds, even tied up possessions she had no business contesting. And every time Vegas tried to break away, Hull was there with a clutch 3 to keep Indiana alive. Her fight became the heartbeat of Gainbridge. What made it tragic was that her effort didn't headline the night. Instead of celebrating grit, the narrative focused on officiating disasters. Hull embodied everything the Fever stood for. Overlooked, doubted, but relentless. And yet, her breakout playoff moment was buried under whistles that stole the spotlight. Meanwhile, Vegas's so-called superstar was falling apart. Jackie Young lit up the scoreboard with 25 points, hitting dagger shots whenever Indiana built momentum. Chelsea Gray chipped in with steady buckets. Nalissa Smith added just enough on both ends. Vegas didn't win because Wilson dominated. They won because everyone else patched the gaps while whistles cleared the path. But the media told a different story. Instead of pointing out Wilson's collapse, headlines praised her rebounds, her intangibles, her leadership. What they ignored was Boston's defense. Suffocating, physical, relentless. Holding the face of the league to 30% shooting should have been the headline. Instead, fans were fed excuses. And all of it only fueled what's coming next. Game 4 is survival. Down 2-1, Indiana has no room left. Becky Hammond is already pre-complaining about officiating possibly flipping in Indy, a sign Vegas knows the crowd won't be quiet this time. 17,000 fans will pack Gainbridge, turning every Fever stop and bucket into a storm. The Aces haven't thrived in hostile gyms, and Indiana knows it. This is no longer just about survival. Game 3 wasn't a loss, it was theft. But Game 4 is the Fever's chance to reclaim what was taken. If Hull fights through pain again, if Mitchell finds her scoring rhythm, if Boston keeps dominating Wilson, then Gainbridge can erupt into the chaos Vegas fears most. Indiana's season doesn't have to end here. It can roar louder, exposing just how hollow the Aces' wins look when whistles aren't on their side. And when that final buzzer sounds, the question won't be whether the Fever can fight back. It'll be whether the league is ready to handle the truth.